Chapter 18, one of my favorite chapters in the manga. It's titled, let's see, Chapter 18 Resolve in the fan translation, and in the English translation, it's translated as Prepared. I really love how the mangakas are trying to incorporate trust, faith, belief, support among just five characters: Emma, Ray, Norman, Gilda, and Dawn. I love the chapter cover colored art in this. The mob characters are in there, and the Christmas tree, the lights. It's because it was published on December, and December 2 was the time when Volume 1, Japanese edition, was released in Japan. And so the Christmas tree, where Phil, Connie, and the others are receiving gifts from a Santa Claus, and that Santa Claus is William Minerva. You can really see how this story is magnificent. It has a Western vibe to it, but that's the reason why it strays away from Shonen Jump. And perhaps that's the reason why now 18 million copies of The Promised Neverland are in circulation. Oh my gosh. So even Mama Isabella, who's preparing a turkey, and Gilda, who is helping, Gilda and Jemima are helping in the table in the background, really looks happy. It really is a wonderful blessing to just see this colored cover chapter with the Gracefield house as one of the ornaments in the Christmas tree, or as the decoration in the Christmas tree. And Merry Christmas, December 2, JC Jump Comics comes. Oh my gosh, it's written in one of the bells in the ornaments when you go to the English translation. It's so beautiful. This chapter colored art, it's wonderful. This warmth that'll never return again. It's the slogan for chapter 18. Highlights of chapter 18: Gilda and Dawn were able to get out of Mama's secret room swiftly and stealthily without Mama Isabella knowing, and Emma told Ray and Norman that it's Phil who found out about the Morse code, to which Emma, when she admitted that it was Phil who found out, Ray said, now it makes sense. And then it's just like a gag how Emma is naive and how she's not able to quickly solve everything, and it stays in character in this arc. And Ray realizing that Emma couldn't have found out, because knowing Emma, she wouldn't be able to notice those Morse codes in the book plates in William Minerva's books. So going back to the highlight, the master key was returned to Mama Isabella indirectly by Eugene. Thank goodness Mama Isabella didn't found Gilda and Dawn escaped from the secret base room. And so we realize the confrontation happened when Dawn and Gilda appeared in front of the trio, looking sad and frightened and scared and confused. Gilda, with her eyes, just says she's confused, she's terrified. She trusts Emma, but then I believe that in her mind, seeing the basement and the toys frightens Dawn and Gilda. It implanted a doubt in Gilda's heads, because Sister Crone already said to Gilda, come to me if you need anything. And that's why Gilda is giving this off vibe look to Emma when she confronted them, when she returned to them. Ray is quick to ask, where have you been? Because he really wanted to know where they have been all this time, because they were not preparing food in the dining table. And so they waited until midnight to speak privately, and Gilda admitted that Dawn pickpocketed Mama's key to raise annoyance and anger. That's why he, in his inner monologue, says we shouldn't have trusted Dawn and Gilda. We shouldn't have let them out of our sight. I really love the dynamic among the five of them, not just the three, because they're battling their minds. They're reasoning out why they should not have gone to Mama's secret room, but then you also see it from Dawn and Gilda's perspective about their thirst in knowing the truth of the house. So you really can't blame them that they're trying to get away, that they're trying to go into Mama's secret room stealthily. And I really love Ray's facial expressions here. Ray is best boy in the first series of the arc, and I know he's toned down a little bit in future arcs, but let's hope that Shirai can give him some shining moments again in future arcs. Dawn confronted Emma and Norman. They were killed, weren't they? They were killed. Nobody's gonna nobody is alive. Why didn't you just tell us? I think he said something like that. He's implying, or he's explicitly confronting Emma, Norman, and Ray. Tell us, Ray, spit it out. What would happen? Would we get killed if they find out? What do you mean by doomed? And Norman and Emma gave off her feelings so quickly just by like seeing Dawn's reactions frightened her, saying out loud "I'm sorry," and just by her actions, Dawn and Gilda realized. Gilda says, "Just as I thought." And Ray and Norman were trying to hide the truth by keeping their emotions calm. And that's why I love about Norman and Ray. They can keep their cool down. Emma is showing her heart off her sleeves. She cannot hide the truth when she saw Dawn's fearful, terrified face, having realized that Dawn realized the truth, having realized that Connie and the others were killed off. And then Dawn was saying to Gilda, "See, Gilda, they were really lying to our faces." And then to which Ray reacted in his head, inner monologue, saying, "Idiot, Emma's such a moron or an idiot." And then Dawn confronted again, "What are you hiding from us? Spit out everything you've got." In the anime, this is one of the wonderful scenes I've seen because of the foreshadowing, the darkened faces and the zoomed in faces of Dawn and Gilda. It's spectacular when it turned into an anime. And in manga, it's not as vibrant, but you can still feel the tension because of their dialogue. Dawn got the message that Ray is a spy all this time, and that he knew what would happen to Connie, and that he didn't do anything, and that frustrated him. He's sweating at this point. And Ray was still cool-headed, emo vibe bangs like that, just like. And then Dawn cannot hold it off. He just laughed and then punched Norman and then Ray. And when I first read this panel, I didn't know that Ray cared so much for Norman like that. Like, look at this panel. When Dawn punched Norman, Ray was telling Dawn, stop, Dawn, you're hurting Norman. See, I really didn't realize. It's only in the second reading. It's in the second rereading that I did that I realized that Ray cares for Norman, maybe even more than Emma, because they're best friends. They're his closest friends, Emma and Norman, but maybe even more so on Norman, because just look at how Ray just was very concerned when Dawn punched Norman. Maybe Ray doesn't really care that much about his life. That's why he's gonna do the self-immolation thing in later chapters. But he really doesn't want his friends to get hurt. Maybe particularly Norman, and that's why he tried to stop Dawn from punching Norman. Well, he was already punched, but then he was infuriated when Dawn punched Norman, and then suddenly Dawn, like a quarterback, punched Ray. Oh my gosh, like such powerful punches. I really love this scenery, and I wish Dawn and Gilda got more developing arcs in the story, but so far we didn't get that. We got other things from them, and then we also got other things from Norman. That's why the establishment of the characters in the first series is phenomenal. Up to like chapter 133 or chapter 145, you'll get to know these characters. You're gonna in love with them even more. So Dawn was saying, are we really that useless, Emma, that you had to protect us from this world? He's literally crying, and Gilda and Dawn understand why Emma had to lie to them. That Dawn was thinking that they forced Emma into a position where they had to lie to them. And Dawn, in the anime, was tearing so much, cries and tears. He went outside the moon glowing, just to vent out his frustration. He already did vent out his frustration against Emma, but then saying that we're family, we're siblings, why can't you just have faith and trust in us? It really shows, it recalls in my in my personal life that I have to be reliable, I have to be faithful, because people also believe in me and have faith in me. And DPN is just chapter by chapter showing to me how the story arc of a character can grow, how a character can progress, how a character perceives the faith and trust that others put in them. And Dawn and Gilda are the perfect example of a conflict among 5 friends who grew up together as a family in an orphanage, and how they need to come together again as a team. And so Ray was confronting Emma, you're prepared to take anything from those two when you initiated or proposed the idea to escape together, right? And then Emma, in her inner monologue, says that she was ready to for Dawn and Gilda to call her a liar, but she wasn't ready to believe in them, and that's the reason why she chased after them. And so Dawn was crying just in the fan translation. He said that he's pissed off, why it hurts him more, why he's weak, why he's unable to do anything at this point, and the tears just overflow. And when this was animated in the anime, it's just much more emotional because Dawn was underneath the moon, he's outside, and the glow of the moon just like contradicts his raging emotions inside. And then like at the last panel of the scene, I was really frustrated when I first read this that Crone has been watching The Five all this time. Oh my goodness, like this chapter 17 is a bomb. Like, beautiful chapter. Like, what a wonderful way to end 2016 with chapter 17 of the manga. I don't really know when chapter 17 was released, but looking at Wikia, it was November 28, 2016. So around Christmas time, that's why they have that Christmas chapter cover art on chapter 17. Yes, well, I mean, sorry, not chapter 17, but chapter 18. Chapter 18 was released on December 5, 2016. So it's the first month, the last month of 2016, and that's why the chapter cover art is the Christmas tree. So Dawn and Gilda, very, very powerful characters. Too bad that they're not well developed in the story arcs, in later story arcs, but in this series they have one of the best storylines, so kudos to the mangakas. Very good presentation. And that's my chapter review for chapter 18. Thank you so much for listening, and bye.